Dr. R. Rajesh Babu is professor from the Public Policy and Management Group at IIM Calcutta. He obtained his PhD in International Law from Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, New Delhi, and has over 2 decades of experience in academia and industry. He has been a fellow at the Center for Studies and Research at the Hague Academy of International Law and a visiting fellow at Hamburg University. He has served as a member of the Board of Governors of IIM Calcutta from April 21 to April 23. A warm welcome to Professor Rajesh Babu. We also have, Dr. V.K. Unni. He is a professor from the Public Policy, area, Public Policy and Management Group at IIM Calcutta. He has a PhD in law from Nalsar University of Law, Hyderabad. He has an extensive experience in teaching courses on intellectual property law and banking and finance law. He has received many prestigious awards, including the Thomas Edison Innovation Fellowship and the Max Planck India Fellowship Awards. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this webinar and together let's unlock the untapped value of business and corporate laws. I would put the forum forward to Professor Rajesh Babu, but just to set the context, so we will have a brief, discussion from the key speakers, Dr. Rajesh Babu and Dr. V.K. Unni, and post that we will also share you the details of the program of this, business and corporate law program, so that you are well aware of the overall structure. After that, we'll enter into a Q&A so that your queries can be answered, and then we will share you the contacts and we will wind up the session. So how do we start, Professor Rajesh Babu?
So what I will try to do is that give you an overview of
yes,
brief overview of the program and also kind of how we have structured the program.
Yes.
In addition to understanding how possibly the way we look at law, right? The way we look at regulatory framework or regulatory environment could potentially be seen as a positive level playing field, not just level playing field, but beyond that to achieve competitive advantage in the marketplace. Right. So just a brief idea. Let me put it across through, and possibly we can. It would be more interesting to kind of engage with the participants rather than giving a monologue, right? So let me, as Pudakji just rightly pointed out, first of all, thank you very much for the generous, introduction. So just hold on. So anyway, Unni is still having some issues, but he'll try to join. Maybe you can send him a fresh link, the normal link. Okay. So just to kind of contextualize what we are about to discuss, this program we designed, it is in the 5th edition, and it is designed to, in the first place, to understand the basic aspects of legal environment of business, both national and international. And the idea of this program is, if you look at the, some of you might have had a look at the program schedule, you would see that it has been divided into 6 major kind of sections, starting from, of course, there is no specific kind of, the way we plan it out, we may change the structure a bit, but generally we have these 6 modules that runs, which is advanced corporate law, 1, which essentially talks about corporate governance, merger and acquisitions, corporate restructuring, venture, joint ventures, etc. Then followed up by an advanced corporate law 2, which talks about fundraising, public offers, private placement, special purpose acquisition companies, foreign investment regulations, insolvency and bankruptcy. So these are some of the areas that we kind of cover. Of course, we also bring in experts from the industry to cover some of these core aspects. The third module is on dispute resolution, where we try to kind of take you through, the different various facets of dispute resolution mechanism, more focusing on the preventive mechanism, right? You have the mediation, you have the conciliation. Of course, conciliation to that extent is out of picture now, more of a mediation, and then the adversarial mechanism of arbitration and litigation, both in the national and international context, because from that effect, the arbitration process that we follow domestically. In addition to that, we also look at other dispute resolution mechanisms like the WTO dispute resolution mechanism and other regional forums, etc. Right. I hope I am audible, right? So
Yes, yes, you're audible. You're audible. Professor
yeah.
Unni has
Or
also joined in.
Yes,
Yes.
sir,
join.
audible.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, audible.
So the fourth module talks about investment trade, international trade and investment. Broadly, we cover the basic principles of WTO trade, the GATS, service agreements, TRIMS agreement, etc. Few other aspects, and then also investment law. Fifth module, intellectual property rights, protection or strategic protection of intellectual property rights. And finally, we have a module on legal framework dealing with competition and consumer protection. These are the broad modules. Of course, for example, the legal framework for competition, for instance, we call the Competition Commission officials. We have 2 sessions. Last 2 batches, we did that very successfully. And joint directors of the CCI essentially comes and kind of delivers the lecture. So this is the broad structure of the course contents as such. Okay, and we also have what we call a group project, a capstone project, essentially to understand to what extent you have tried to understand the subject, as well as how you can come together in trying to project this subject in a more advantageous fashion, particularly from the context of corporate context. So this is the broad kind of structure. But having said that, let me, before I request Professor Unni also to kind of join the discussion, let me also kind of contextualize the few things that Kulakji was kind of mentioning about leveraging competitive advantage, etc. See, whenever we look at law, uh, we always look at law from a constraining perspective. What do you mean by that? It essentially means that uh, uh, it's something that prevents you from doing things, right? Constrains you, and when from particularly from a business point of view, right? It constrains you, saying that don't do this, don't do that, right? And puts a wall around your business, restraining your possibilities, of course, right? So that is the way generally people look at law. But then there is another way of, at the same time, there is another way of looking at law as well, where it can be from the positive side of looking at as a level playing field, looking at as providing a fair playing ground, the weaker in the marketplace being not being taken advantage of by the stronger, and at the same time also how possibly you can incorporate your legal framework, whatever may be the legal framework, whatever may be the business that you are in, integrate into your strategic decision making process, right? Not just as a side thing which you may want if there is a trouble, right? Not just like that, but more as something that is integrated into a objective of business, or integrating into the strategic planning exercise itself, right? So again contextualizing the discussion, if you look at law, when you look at the value chain itself, you will find that from starting from sourcing of raw materials to you know uh, 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 from finished goods to all the supply the value chain of business, or for that matter service, some every aspect of this value chain you will find interaction of law coming into play. Right? One can call it as contract, one can call it as environment compliance. These days, the concept of ESG is coming up in a very big way. A sale of goods contract, consumer protection, privacy, WT export-import control. So any product you take, you will find somewhere or another the law as an instrument kind of trying to regulate or control your action. That is one part of it. The second part, you would also look at any top business enterprises. If you look at the expenses, the budget of companies, you will find, I mean, the top expenses of a company. Litigating expenses turns out to be one of the biggest expenses of a company, right? Litigating expenses, right? So 2021, if I remember correctly, the Economics Times said that they have spent around about 37,000 crores. The top few companies, 37,000 crores, essentially for litigation expense. Something maybe you cannot reduce this to zero, but something that possibly can reduce significantly if simply you can restructure the way you look at it. So in that sense, one can say that one has the important question that we try to address, at the same time looking at what is the law as such, but also looking at how to identify law as a strategic opportunity, taking advantage of a competitive context, and trying to leverage the circumstance. And in that, before I kind of refrain myself from getting into more detail, just let me take you through the kind of ways in which firms or companies kind of approach law. And that, if you look at, you can see that, say, from what we call it as avoidance, and many companies do that, right? Avoidance means some hook or crook, you try to, say, bribe the person and then get on with it, right? And how long can you get on with it? That's a different matter. But complying with law is very costly. So circumventing the law or avoiding the law at the minimal cost of maybe underhand dealings, etc., can also get promoted. So there are many companies who does that, but that's not strategy in that. Or for that matter, the higher level of what we call it as use of law, which is compliance, right? So there are some companies who avoids or tries to avoid law, so that they don't need to. They will look into law only when it tries to, punish you, so to say. And the second level is compliance. Okay, you all know that there are certain things which needs to be complied with, so let us comply with. If there is a cost, of course, that is good. So you see law or compliance as a cost center, right? So that is another way of looking at it. I'm not going to get into details or examples here. The third way of looking at law is prevention. So slightly on the higher side. You're not just talking about compliance, but you are also looking at slightly beyond the curve, right? Trying to understand what is going to come, and then have from the past experience, have a preventive strategy in place where even if something happens in the policy environment, legal environment, you can structure the law to suit the context. The third and the fourth level, again, people talk about, and there are a lot of studies that has come out in the context of the strategic advantage of law, is taking advantage of those, right? How, say, for example, intellectual property rights, right? Bundling of intellectual property rights. IBM did that. So, and taking advantage of a kind of scenario. And the last kind of structure comes in when, but most companies does not reach that stage, but what is called as transformation. Transformation essentially is that, in the marketplace, what happens is that you are always searching for tools to have this competitive advantage, right? You use ICT as a tool to competitive advantage. But the problem with competitive advantage, your competitor can always catch you up, right? But then transformation is a stage where even if the company wants or your competitor wants to kind of reach that stage, uh, uh, still difficult to achieve that, given the kind of uniqueness with which you have adapted to the circumstance, right? Of course, not very all companies kind of reach that stage because everybody kind of catches up. So to broadly summarize what I was trying to say is that there are different ways of looking at law, and law as an instrument is increasingly getting complicated. We all know that, particularly from the business point of view, right? So this course attempts to kind of trying to understand the law, and at the same time also to understand how one could also reorient your thinking about the law. It's essentially about reorienting about the thinking about the law to suit your circumstances and integrate into most of your decision making processes. Right. So that is the broad kind of sketch that I am kind of drawing, and then I will now pass on to Professor Unni for his brief remark.
Yeah. Good evening to all. Am I audible? Am I?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry. There was some network issue. It was not a network issue. It was the system not allowing me to join because someone else has joined with my name. Anyway, so that's sorted out. So anyway, great pleasure to see a very large number today in spite of the India-Pakistan cricket match. So I welcome all of you, even though no, I was not able to hear during the initial 10 minutes or so. As Professor Rajesh has rightly said, the context in which this course should be viewed upon and what kind of takeaways which you will be having and also we will be having from this. So I'll be just talking about this particular course from the specific modules which I'll be covering. So there are, all of you know, there are essentially 6 modules. So 3 would be taken care by me and 3 would be taken care by Professor Rajesh. And we also in between, we also try to arrange people from outside also. So module number 1 is essentially something called as Advanced Corporate Law 1. In Advanced Corporate Law 1, we try to deal with things like joint ventures, different kinds of shareholders agreements, share subscription agreements, those kinds of stuff. Then we also get into things dealing with various aspects of, I would say, ROFO, ROFR. These are all specific agreements which are mostly used in the context of audio not audible. So is that the case with everybody or it's only there? Am I audible?
Yes,
You are audible to me.
Yes.
Okay. So that means maybe our
audio is clear.
Yeah,
audio is fully clear. There is no problem with the audio.
Okay, yeah. So in between, I even changed to a 5G connection. So I am actually using the so-called 5G to communicate with you.
Yes.
So yeah. So what I'm saying is this particular course, Advanced Corporate Law 1 module, mostly deals with joint ventures, shareholders agreements, share purchase agreements, and all. And we also have something dealing with mergers there. This Advanced Corporate Law module 2, we try to cover things like acquisitions. We try to cover things like fundraising and also the foreign investment part, primarily FEMA, some of the FDA regulations and all. And then there is also a module on intellectual property. So these are the 3 modules which I'll be mostly overseeing. But it's not that we are the only people who are teaching. So last year, to cover sessions on primarily the acquisition part, we had somebody from Amarchand Mangaldas, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas, who navigated the entire takeover of Ambuja Cements and all. So we always try to bring in some of the best people to speak to you. And also for during the campus visit, we had another person from Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas who was talking about ESG and you know, how these concepts are really trying to be part of the entire corporate strategy. And I told you there is a module on intellectual property also. So that we try to cover almost all aspects of IP, also with a flavor having some elements of how this IP is used as part of corporate strategy also. So these are the specific 3 modules which I'll be dealing with. As Professor Rajesh already mentioned, many a times we also call external experts. For example, the module on competition law. We actually had people from people of the level of director, assistant director and all speaking to our participants. So this is how we try to do this program, because this is not a pure law program. This is a program which is actually helping people who are working in business, who are handling various aspects of business functions, where law plays a major role. So many of the participants may not even have a degree in law. We have a lot of people with degrees in law or even PGs in law, but many of them don't even have a degree in law. So, but still, all of them, the kind of feedback which we have received is that all of them found it to be very, very useful, and this has really helped them as part of their career progression. That's what we could understand. And we had some of the very senior people also joining. For example, somebody from Emphasis holding a very senior position, senior VP level position and all. So it's again, that's what we are saying. So this is not just a one-way process. Many a times we also learn from our participants, because they also contribute a lot to the quality of discussions and all. So the context Professor Rajesh has already mentioned. So I will stop it here because I really don't know what was discussed during the first 10 minutes. So I'll just stop it here. And if anybody has any questions or clarifications, we'll be very happy to take it.
So, Professor, I mean, we will just get into the Q&A subsequently. And
yeah.
So just to have share with you, we started with a short brief of introduction about the agenda of the webinar, and then I introduced both of you to the audience also. And so right now, what we can do possibly is that you know, one question that comes in with everyone, you know, generally people ask this question that, you know, how do I gain a competitive advantage? You know, if I gain you know, knowledge enough in business and corporate law, I am in a position wherein I am handling, say, compliance of an organization. You know, so how best can this program help me leverage to the best of the abilities, knowing the current context, understanding the environment, and then putting it forward for a competitive advantage? So that is the question that everybody has in mind, and whether really this learning would really help them get on to the next level of their careers and onwards.
Yeah, so I will just briefly start and then Professor Rajesh can chip in. So yeah, that's our ultimate intention. So this course should be helping people who actually are involved in compliance with a law or without a law degree, or people who might be at some stage getting into compliance. Because these days, companies, you will be assigned to deal with any kind of functions, and you can't say I don't know this and also. And law is a very interesting subject where one of the basic maxims is that ignorance of law is not an excuse, and every time you cannot call the lawyer also. So that's where this kinds of courses would be. But if you ask me, will it be equivalent to an LLB? Answer is clearly no. So what we are actually trying to focus is within the time periods of maybe 117 or 120 hours, we are trying to take you to a particular level where some of these courses, some of these topics are widely used in business. For example, corporate law, mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, share purchase agreements, shareholders agreements, some of the important terms which we generally come across. For example, indemnity is a term which people regularly come across. Without even knowing the meaning, they all said, when after we taught, then they were saying, Professor, we have seen this term on many occasions, we have even signed on them, but now we understand what is the real meaning of the word indemnity. Because they thought that that's a routine word and they have got into this. Luckily, there no major damage has happened, but now they are saying now we will be much more careful. So those kinds of issues, yeah, you need, yeah. So anyway, that question Shreyas is already handling. So this is what the starting point is, and Professor Rajesh can of course join and complete whatever. Right.
Can you, am I audible?
Yeah. Very much.
Yeah. So just to, continue with whatever Professor Unni has already mentioned. My point is that how you want to leverage any tool at the end of the day is up to you, right? So we have structured the program in such a way that we tries to cover in that short period of time. Of course, there are constraints there. We tries to cover as much as possible that is most critical and relevant in a corporate and international context, doing international business, domestic business, as well as in a corporate context. That's what we try to do, right? Now, to what extent one can one engages, as Professor Unni said already, there are people who come, 50 people. Currently, we have 52 members. And they're widely experienced. They have their own, even though they may not have law degree as such, but then enormous amount of experience, right? So one of the key aspects that when we talk about our students, MBA or otherwise, is there is always a kind of a peer learning which happens, sharing of experience which happens, the real-time problems that they face, they discuss, etc. Right? So the second level, what I'm trying to essentially say is that the kind of group of people that you are engaging with is critical in terms of broadening your knowledge as far as the corporate regulations. The third one is you look at any sphere of business. The more you go up the ladder, right? You, without understanding, I'm saying basic understanding, not talking about lawyers. We're not going to make it right? But without a basic understanding what lawyers do, the jargons, and what is put in a contract, which is 1,000-page document, which you are about to sign as a manager or as a chief manager, without understanding some of the jargons that Professor Unni has used, the implication of that, and there are a number of live examples of how people have got into trouble by signing into documents without understanding what they are getting the liability for. The last aspect is again, that is the final aspect. How you want to kind of leverage and say that you integrate whatever you have learned, right, into the business decision making. Because remember this, every litigation, every business litigation, it's not a legal issue, it's a business issue, right? You are trying to solve a business issue. Of course, the rules of the game is provided by the law, right? So you are supposed to know the rules, but what you are trying to solve is a business problem at the end of the day. So if you forget that part of the issue, if you look at this as a problem which a lawyer should be handling it, then that is the end of the matter, right? So you are essentially outsourcing the entire. You saying that by outsourcing your problems is going to go away. The answer is no. So that is where your proactiveness comes into, and there is a level of proactiveness that is required as well, where you have to be able to kind of integrate some of these aspects when you are negotiating contracts, when you are negotiating merger or acquisitions for your business, or for that matter in compliance, or trying to deal with your government agencies, right? Public procurement, for example, right? How possibly you can best use your knowledge and leverage the situation, right? So again, it's not, we can only show you tools, right? At the end of the day, how you want to use that tools, at the end of the day is up to you, right? So I hope, Pulakji.
Hey, I think it was very, very well answered, Professor Unni, Professor Rajesh Babu. I think that is of course the intent of pursuing the program, and I think we have seen in the past also that participants have come in from various fields. As you rightly said that, people with a legal background, has a contribution. But of course, we have seen a lot of people from the non-legal background being into the compliance area, and even entrepreneurs have joined our program in a big time to understand the nuances of the corporate and business law. And I think we encourage entrepreneurs to also be a part of this program. Owners of SMBs, small and medium business, large businesses can also be a part of this program. So
Pulakji, just one thing. We have a
yeah.
question by Mansi Singh.
Yes.
I think she's asking, I am an independent counsel and practicing in High Court. So we had some people who are actually practicing lawyers. But I should make it very clear here that our focus is primarily on the corporate side. So in case, and in these days, that within the High Courts also there is a corporate bench handling with this. So we have that. But if you expect this course to cover things on constitutional law, administrative law and all, it won't be there. So I want to be very, very frank on this. So this course primarily is focusing on corporate law in the dispute resolution, ADR, so all kinds of this, then foreign exchange, intellectual property. So also there is a time constraint, but over the last 5-6 years we have found that this seems to be the right kind of mix, because we are also able to bring in some of the participants, some of the best speakers from outside. I mentioned some of the law firms whom we are associated with also. And this has worked well, but that doesn't mean we will not change this model after some time. But to be very frank, we are not covering things involving pure public law. So if you are practicing in High Court and you want more expertise or knowledge with respect to matters pertaining to constitution, all, I don't think this is the right place, please. So.
Right. So I think
just to add on.
Yeah, please.
Just to add on again, those whom you already mentioned, even to a certain extent, because of the time constraint only, we don't even go into the basic aspects of contract problem, right? So we straight away go into the more advanced aspects of corporate law, international trade, investment, ADR, etc. Right? More focused in that sense. Of course, we do cover some aspect where public procurement, depending on the requirement of the participants, we do that, because some structuring we do entertain that, but not purely from the contract point of view, starting from offer and acceptance. Right? So just to again answer Sanjay Nambiar, we have already explained and given an overview of the topics, and also I think it is in your brochure. They will share it with you. The timing is usually on a Sunday at 10:30. As of now, it is at 10:30 to 1:30, 3 hours, or every Sunday. Of course, sometimes because you have a time limit, and there may be possibility some Sunday may not be available, etc. Sometimes we have a class on Friday evenings. This would be usually from 6:30 to 9:30.
Right. So if
just one second. So Sanjay ji, so we are also very well aware of the time constraints which professionals have. So that's the way we have structured the classes. Mostly it's on a weekend, but sometimes what happens is some unforeseen circumstances happens, but then there'll be clear prior notice so that things can be taken care of. But we generally avoid classes on a weekday. We all know that you people are extremely busy, so that should not be a worry.
Thank you for the clarification, Professor Unni.
Yes. So I think what we can do possibly share a very small slide on the program construct, and then we can get into the Q&A. Whatever Q&A we have, we can respond to that. Yeah. Just.
Tax is not something that we have not covered, but depending on the requirement. See, as you already know, there are one campus visit. Palakji, I think this time we are having two.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So
Time we have to.
yeah, and this is because of a feedback from the earlier batches that this time we are having 2 campus visits of 2.5 days generally, right? So there, even though it is not part of the course curriculum itself, we are not included. 1 or 2 lectures we can always do that, but depending on the require, okay, because there are many other topics that would also get kind of covered, cyber law, digital privacy, all these issues are that comes into. Okay, yeah.
Yes. So this is the structure of the program for those of you who are actually, seeing it for the first time. So, so this is cohort number 5. We have already delivered 4 batches earlier, and the 4 batches have been extremely satisfactory. And I mean, we had a very diverse participation from various sectors, from various industries, and of course, with various experience levels. So the batches have been very diverse, and there was a lot of cross learning exposure also beyond whatever faculties have taught. So that has always been the high point of any IIM Calcutta program, that there is a cross industry exposure that happens because of huge participation from diverse fields. This program currently would be a 9-month program. Your eligibility would be minimum 2 years of work experience, that is mandatory, with a 50% in your graduation or post-graduation. Either you have to have 50% aggregate in graduation or in post-graduation to apply. And selection will be based on evaluation of your application, which will be done by the program directors themselves. They will go through your profiles, your SOP, and then they will take a decision to. So remember, not everybody who applies, gets to join the program. So, profiles are handpicked. And of course, I mean, looking at their successful profile, looking at a good profile, the program directors choose to, take them into the batch. The mode of delivery is purely online. You can access it from your home or office at the convenience. And we also have 2 campus visits, as Professor Rajesh Babu rightly said, that 2 visits at IIM Calcutta campus. Initial will be of 4 days. So after the batch starts, after a month or so, you will have 1 campus visit, and the other one will be at the end of the program. So during the end of the program, of course, there will be a a certificate ceremony through which you will get the certificate at the campus itself. Session schedule is on Sundays 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. And as indicated by Professor Unni, only in few select Saturdays it will be 12 noon to 3 p.m. This is what has been planned, but this will be very limited, and this will be pre-informed by the faculties. But your actual schedule will be Sundays 10:30 to 1:30 p.m. Certificate of completion will be there, after you successfully complete all your assessment requirements and your attendance criteria. Alumni status, of course, once you complete the program, you get bestowed with the IIM Calcutta Executive Education Alumni status. Program fee is 2,65,000 plus GST. GST at present is 18%, and this is payable in 3 easy installments. If this certificate might be a little bit hazy, but of course we will share with you separately. This is the design of the certificate, which is generally conferred to the participants. So it is mentioned that IIM Calcutta, this is to certify that so-and-so has successfully completed the executive program in business and corporate laws held during this tenure to this tenure, and signed by Professor Rajesh Babu and Professor Unni and the Dean. Program modules, Professor Unni and Professor Rajesh Babu had taken you through, but there will be broadly 6 modules. As you can see, these are the broad modules: Advanced Corporate Laws 1 and 2, Dispute Resolution National and International, Legal Framework for Competition and Consumer Protection, International Trade and Investment Law, and Protection of Intellectual Property Rights. And what we have seen during the sessions is that both professors encouraged a lot of open discussions. So many a times a topic is discussed, there is a problem area which also, it is resolved within the class also. They are pretty, accommodative in terms of their queries and responses. So I think that should not be a problem for anyone. This is a grab, a pic of the previous batch that has graduated. This is the cohort 4 which has got graduated. This is the image of that at the campus. Of course, these are not the overall participants. Few participants who could not come, they are not in the frame, but this is largely the batch of the business and corporate law with the professors.
This is the current batch, right? I mean, the one which just finishing.
Yes. And important dates and class schedule. Of course, the class schedule we have discussed earlier. The last date to apply for now, the current phase will end in October 26th. That is when you have to make your online application. And we will also share you the brochure, the link which is there. Program planned commencement is end of November. So we start with the technical orientation, gradually followed by the classes. This is
Just
this is
want to add. Just want to add regarding the courses. You may also kind of mention the capstone project, which is also evaluated. Right?
Yes.
And all the modules are evaluated, meaning there will be an exam and assessment, which will also get reflected in your certificate.
Yes.
Yeah, just one more thing to add. Pulakji has rightly given all the entire course outline, everything. But just one more thing where we need to give some emphasis, because the campus module of this course, students always say is the most important part, which nobody should ever try to miss also. So,
Yes.
and a lot of students say that who only attended the initial classes through online, when they come to campus, after that, they immediately, become a big fan of IIM Calcutta, the program, and also various other, because this is one place where you try to, you are going back to your school days. Many a times there will be some assignments which we'll be giving, you have to complete it. And so this lot of students, initially they all were a bit wary about this course and all, but once they come to the campus, afterwards you can see the immediate change in approach, or the way which they respond after this is completely different. So, and now, at least from this batch onwards, earlier we only had one campus visit, so now we are going to have 2 campus visits. So I'm sure you will take the maximum advantage of this campus visits, because that's the real sense of this entire course. So that's it.
Just to add on what Unni just mentioned, the feedback essentially was that why can't we have a campus visit in the beginning and possibly one at the end? If you have something in the beginning, everybody knows everybody, and even if you are hiding behind a black, closed video, you know who is behind that, right? So there is a better kind of sense of classroom when you already know each other. So that is why we thought that it would be better to have this 2 campuses rather than 1 campus. And just to add on to one of the questions that was asked, money. Yes, the dispute resolution module contains both mediation, what we call as an alternative dispute resolution mechanism, arbitration. Then you also international dispute resolutions like investment arbitration and WTO dispute resolution mechanism. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
These are the connects that you might reach us, while you apply. Even Shivani is here with us. Shivani, you can say a hi to everyone. Shivani is managing the program. And
good evening, professors. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yes. So you can reach out to Shivani at this number. She will guide you through. But yes, after the end of the program, after the end of the webinar, you will be receiving a mail with the brochure and the other details, so that you don't face any problem as such. So I think right now we can go ahead with the Q&A. If somebody has a query, can of course raise hand, unmute and speak here in forum, right? Shashi, if you have any questions in the chat box, which is not responded, we can take it up and respond also.
Absolutely. So as of now, we just have received another question from Mansi. Mansi asks, Mansi mentions, thank you for your clarification, sir. I have completed my LLM in corporate and commercial laws and want to start my career in corporate field. That is why I was curious to know about the boost I'll get in my career with this program. So Mansi, we have, I think we have addressed your query. If professors would like to add on to it further, I would welcome
Yeah.
that.
So since she has already done her LLM in corporate law, and since she'll be also doing this particular program, it will be adding on to whatever she has learned. And the most important thing which this course is going to give her is the kind of connects, because people who are in this field, many of them would be working professionals. So the way in which you can interact with them, you will also know some good opportunities either happening at their own organization or a similar organization. So at the end of the day, when things being equal, connections matter a lot. So, and we have seen since there are very vibrant WhatsApp groups as part of the previous batches, I've seen how the participants or the students, the alumni have gone out of the way to help many of them. The moment somebody says we want to move on, or we want looking for a new position, immediately they spread the word, and I have seen many of them getting it also. So that's something which, so the connection part, plus you have done your LLM, so it should be much easier for you. But still I feel that there would be some areas, I'm not going to name which place. Recently I taken an interview for a faculty position. People have all done their LLM in corporate laws, but I don't want to tell you how they fared in that interview. Unfortunately, the level of knowledge which people, or they may not be serious, or maybe even COVID, I think, even the basics, they have to do a lot of reworking. That's what, and I'm talking about after attending a faculty selection interview of people who have done their masters, or many have completed their PhDs in corporate law. And I was completely shocked. The entire panel was shocked, because even basics they were not able to clarify. So I'm not saying you are somebody like that, but this is a general problem with our entire system now, and COVID has accelerated that. So this, I think, at least we will be able to chip in and help you out on this.
Thank you, Professor Unni. We have another question from Nivedita, who wants some more details about the evaluation system, whether it is written, offline assignments, and so on.
So it can be both. Okay. So generally, whatever we have seen, it is usually an end-term kind of thing. End module of every module will be given some time, and there will be an evaluation question. We mostly MCQs, online method would be the evaluation part, right? And the group assignment, there will be you will be putting up a paper. In some modules, maybe faculty members can say that, have a case study and then make a presentation, and then based on that, there would be a possibility of evaluation. That is a possibility. But for example, I have done that in one of the modules, but this time the participants were not very keen on it. They were more interested in having this end evaluation. So it varies a bit. We are also kind of flexible in terms of how to evaluate faculty members, but yeah, generally it is MCQs at the end of the module.
May I say something, sir?
Yes, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of any kind of viva, or also there will during evaluations?
No,
No.
there is no viva. Depending, since this time we have 2 campuses, etc. What we may also think about is, so as I said, there is something called capstone project. Okay, what is capstone? You will be divided into groups, and you will select a team, and based on which you will be making a paper, right? This is a group exercise, and that there will be a presentation based on that. So that is the only thing that you may have close to what you call it as a viva, right?
Okay.
But individually there is nothing. There's nothing like that.
Okay.
The idea is also to capstone. Yeah, capstone's idea is also to have a team building exercise discussion, because you will be from different diverse background, right?
Yeah.
So that helps out in understanding legal aspects as well.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
So,
Right.
Lalji, yeah.
Yes.
Lalji,
Professor.
can you clarify that here?
Yes. Okay. I think this is Shivani has posted something on the admission part, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Madam Geeta is asking a very important question. So
Yeah. Okay. Let
You
Geeta, can you come up on audio and please ask the question? You can please
Yeah,
come up.
good evening,
Yes.
professors.
yeah, good evening.
So, sir, I have already submitted my application with all the documentation, SOP, and profile. So, since the last date for application submission is 26, so when can we hear back on the selection, whether my profile has been selected or no?
So I think your profile would have gone in the last slot, which has been sent to IIM Calcutta. So I think by early next week, you should be able to hear from us. Right? So
Yeah, because
by
I
Wednesday,
have
you
done
should be
my
able to.
master's.
Yeah.
I have done my master's in law, and I have a working experience of around 16 years, combined with real estate, banking, and now healthcare.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I am presently working as a senior manager legal. So I was thinking that and hoping that this course will be definitely more beneficial for me.
And Madam, where are you working now?
So currently I am in Dubai.
Dubai. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, see, one thing which we generally look towards this profile is also to have some kind of diversity. So and I'm sure we will be taking a very informed decision on this. But diversity is something which we generally prefer, and I'm sure it will be taken.
So you will hear from us very first day. After that process over, they will send it to the institute for final decision. We'll have a look at it and we generally don't delay.
Sure, sir. Looking forward for it, sir.
Thank you so much.
Shivani, you can be in touch with Geeta and help her through with the dates.
Sure.
Yeah.
I already have had a communication with Khushru, who is in touch with Geeta. I'll speak to her personally because her application is already forwarded to the institute for the selection process.
Already forwarded, eh?
Right.
Yes.
No issues. I think we have recently sent it. So
Okay.
So professors would address it. There's a last slot which has gone. So I think
That's right, sir. That's right.
Yes.
Can I add one more thing? Because it becomes important for us to know the dates in advance, because then we have to plan our travel also from Dubai to Calcutta.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, our planned commencement date is end of November. So we will start with the technical orientation tentatively on 26th, I suppose. 26th is the technical orientation date. That is when we're going to have. And subsequently, we're going to have the academic orientation in the next week. So, but you will get the formal communication from our side over a mail. So after your selection process is done and all, you'll receive a formal communication from our side with the dates and all, so that you can plan your travel accordingly. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Generally, even the dates of first campus visit is not decided, but generally I can say that it would be, given that the way we have structured it, we want one first campus visit as soon as possible. We may try to do that sometime in January, again, depending on how it's also a peak period for Professor Unni and myself, but we'll try to kind of put it in Jan. And usually it is on a Friday, Saturday. Okay. So that you can set Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so that your weekdays are not, you don't need to be constrained about too much of taking leave, etc. So usually that is how we plan. Okay.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
If anybody else has any queries, you may please raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask the query to the professors today.
So I saw one query on taxation. We are not covering taxation. So that I want to make it very clear.
Any other question from anyone?
We are already 1 hour.
Yeah, I think it's already 5:10. So,
Yes.
but any which ways, if you have any queries further, yeah, I think
it should be, because lots of people who are either currently doing or the previous batches, they are also qualified company secretaries. So
Yeah.
not only
No,
CS, chartered
just
accountants
to give
also.
you,
quite a few.
add on to what Professor Unni just mentioned, the around 20 to 30% of them would have some kind of law degree. Of course, they may be practicing lawyers, or they may be working in companies, right? Or companies, etc. Right? So this profile is, you will always kind of find 20 to 30%. Some around 10%, 15%, you will find CS, CA categories. The remaining you will find with no legal background as such, formal legal background, but they have been dealing with, in their corporate context, they will be dealing with law, but with no formal law background. Okay, this is the broad kind of profiles that, at least from the last 2-3 batches, that we can tell. Yeah, Vineet, right, go ahead.
Hi, and firstly, thank you so much for giving us the background, sirs. Very nice of you. Really appreciate you taking time. I have a question, and partially that was just answered regarding the background of people who would be part of the course, and you did mention that while few of them do have a law or a company secretary background, but others may not, but they still may be part of, let's say, the legal system or involved some way. Now, in my case, and I'm going to just take a 10-second, going to give you an update. I've done an MBA in marketing. I work for a fintech, part of the business side, largely involved at times in sales, at times in business transformations, projects. And yes, at times in some of the other discussion related to patents, some of the other discussion related to contracts, disputes, all of that. So is that you're looking for specifically people profile who are in depth into law or company secretary, or would a profile which is also a business profile be suitable?
As the way we have designed it, and remember, this is not a program from a law school, right? This is from a management institution. So obviously, we understand the perspective that we want to take, and we are very clear on that, right? So in that sense, we would be more keen to kind of bring on board people who have lesser understanding of experience of law. The only question, if you get an offer or you decide to kind of join, the only thing that I would kind of suggest you that you should also be a bit proactive. Lawyers, I mean, nothing, I'm also a lawyer in that sense. Lawyers has the possibility of, asking more questions, dominating, right, in the class. So only thing is that you have to kind of be a bit proactive in terms of what your concerns are. And at the same time, again, something that we have always done is, irrespective of the class, of course, we have to maintain a particular level at the class. But in case you have some concerns, you can even contact the faculty directly to address such concerns or do something additional which is not covered by the program, etc. You can always interact with the faculty concerned.
So add on to what Professor Rajesh is saying, this is even, I think all batches we have about 30 to 35% people who may not be dealing with law at all, at least till that point of time. Then they say, yeah, law has become, we heard these terms, but we never understood the kind of importance which these kinds of transactions or contracts have. And the other thing is, as Professor Rajesh was telling, see, this is not a typical law course from a law school. So we are also being lawyers. We initially thought what could be taught outside the field of law. I was always wondering, in banking, what else is there beyond banker-customer relationship or beyond securitization? But when I joined the management school and I saw colleagues from other groups, for example, finance and control or strategy and all, then we realize that ours is a small portion within the entire organization. And our function has to align with the organization's function, not the other way around. So, for example, when we teach merger, HDFC's merger with HDFC Bank, that's the overall strategic objective. The merger part, which the law, the regulatory framework covers, maybe maximum 25 to 30%. But that is also very important. That you can't say that I will do this entire merger minus this 30%. That's not possible. So we are trying to give you a kind of a 360-degree perspective. Even for a non-lawyer, this would be very relevant. So that's my take on this. So as Rajesh already mentioned.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I think Mr. Goha has a question regarding, we cannot tell which module is most beneficial, right? But in terms of contract, as we don't have a specific module on contract, the reason being that we have 120 hours to kind of complete, and then we try to maximize as much as possible on, we have done a choice as to what is best possible, right? But having said that, as I said, in the context of consumer contract, when we are discussing consumer contract, etc., I also harp on, which we did it 2 years back, harp on the contract, government contract, some of the basic aspects of a standard form contract. There are certain clauses that usually comes in, like standard form contract. We briefly covered that, okay? But if there is a large section of the class which says that we need this, we try to kind of adapt the module according to the requirement. Okay.
I think, Shreyasi, you are muted.
Shreyasi,
I'm so sorry about that. Yes. So we have a query right above Riganko's query, which mentions what is the ratio of sessions that are given by practical experience faculty, like from the law firms as mentioned in the beginning of the session. Yeah, so I can say in my module of about, in the corporate law, one module we had out of 18 hours, 6 hours was taken by somebody from Amarchand Mangaldas, Cyril Amarchand Mangaldas. The second module also, we had people from, I think this time was from Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. So both Amarchands were involved. So I would say it would be 10 to 20% because Sundays, they also don't come because that's the only day they are getting. But still people who are so eager to talk to students and all, they take it up. Otherwise, many people, when you say it's a Sunday, a lot of people and say that it's very difficult and all. So, and sometimes we even reschedule the sessions so that they can also participate. But it could be, I would say 15 to 20% would be the end.
Yeah, 20, roughly around 20 or 25%, not more than that. But one of the reasons why we don't engage too much also is because, we have a set timeline, right? And I can give you one example. I invited one of the most prominent person in mediation in India for a session, right? But unfortunately, he was a very senior person. And unfortunately, he has to cancel it a couple of times and we have to cancel the class. And so this kind of problems comes into it, right? So certainty, so we have to have a timeline and that process to get completed within a specified period. But at the same time, we have, again, even that was the case with the competition commission. We have to cancel once, right? Or we have to change schedules. So, but we had 2 sessions by competition commission. Right? So we did that, but yeah, to answer specifically your question, maybe 20, you can say that 20%.
Thank you, Professor. Yes. So I think that brings us to the end of the number of queries that we had on the chat box. And I would like to ask everybody once again, if you have any queries, now is the time because we have already exceeded 1 hour's interaction with all of you. And if you have any queries, please raise your hand. We would be willing to answer just one or two more queries. I think as of now, we do not have any further queries for the session.
I think they can write back to us if they have any further queries. And our team will also get back to them and,
Great.
check whether they have any queries as such. So we will share the contact number again. And I would like to really thank Professor Unni and Professor Rajesh Babu. They're extremely busy. They are really held up with their packed schedules, but yet, they made time for us for this session. And I think it was really a insightful session for all of us. And thank you so much for being here this Saturday evening. And have a very nice Sunday tomorrow.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for giving priority to us than the India Park cricket match.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I mean,
Bye-bye.
thanks for the participants. And
Thank you all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all participants for joining in today. And, please, you will be receiving all communication regarding the program on your mailboxes. Please keep an eye on that. And our team will also reach out to you in case you need any help or special assistance. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
conclude the session.
Thank you, Shivani ji.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Pulak ji.
Thank you so much, professors. Have a great weekend ahead.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Yes. Somebody
We
asked
have a
for
class tomorrow.
the chat box. Oh, okay.